The market was full of noise, colors, and strange smells. Lights flashed from tall signs. Voices shouted about goods from across the galaxy. Metal parts, rare animals, weapons, even forbidden things. In the middle of this chaos stood a man in a long coat. His name was Daniel. He had come here only to look, not to buy. But then he heard something that stopped him in his tracks. A dealer with sharp eyes and a smooth smile called out to the crowd. His voice was calm, yet it cut through the noise like a blade. "Guaranteed," the dealer said. "Your money back if she doesn't satisfy you tonight." People laughed. Some walked away. Some whispered. Daniel frowned. He thought it was a joke. But the dealer was serious. From behind him, 2 guards brought out a tall, beautiful woman. Her hair shone under the neon light. Her eyes looked both strong and sad at the same time. She did not look like a machine, yet Daniel knew she could not be normal. Not robot, not slave, the dealer explained, smiling at Daniel as if he had chosen him on purpose. She is more. She is perfect. She will obey, she will protect, she will please. If she fails, I give your money back. No risk, no lies. Daniel tried to walk away, but his eyes stayed locked on the woman. She looked at him, and for a brief second he felt something. It was not attraction alone, it was fear. Not her fear of the dealer, but her fear for him. She shook her head ever so slightly as if warning him. "Why me?" Daniel asked at last. The dealer smiled wider. "Because you are curious, and curiosity always pays well." Against his better judgment, Daniel made the deal. The credits left his account with a single press. The woman was handed to him. The dealer bowed. "Take care of her, human. She is more valuable than you know." That night, Daniel sat in his small apartment. The woman stood near the window, silent, watching the city lights. She had not spoken a word since they left the market. Daniel cleared his throat. "So, what's your name?" he asked. For a moment, she said nothing. Then very softly, she whispered, "Soraya." Her voice was calm, almost musical, but heavy with sorrow. Daniel tried to smile. "Soraya, all right, do you need anything? Food, water?" She shook her head slowly. "I need freedom." Daniel froze. He had expected many answers. He had not expected that. "Freedom? You mean the dealer keeps you locked up? You want me to let you go?" Her eyes turned to his, burning with hidden fire. "Not locked up, sold over and over again. I am not what you think I am." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. He stood. "Then what are you?" She walked closer, her steps silent, graceful. She leaned near him, and in a whisper that made his skin crawl, she said, "I was not made for humans. I was made for them." She pointed out the window at the night sky. Daniel followed her finger, but saw only stars and neon glow. "What do you mean? Aliens?" She nodded. "Hunters, masters, they created me. I escaped. The dealer caught me. He sells me now, but he does not know the danger. If they find me, they will take me. And if you are with me, they will take you too." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to laugh, to say it was crazy, but the look in her eyes told him it was no lie. It was truth, raw and sharp. "Why me, then? Why warn me?" Daniel asked. Soraya lowered her voice until it was only a breath. "Because you are different. Humans are different. I feel it when I look at you. You are not like the others who bought me. You can change things." Daniel shook his head. "I can't fight aliens. I'm just a man." Her lips curled into a faint, sad smile. "You will have no choice." Silence filled the room. Outside, the night seemed too quiet, too still. Daniel tried to laugh again. "Maybe you're just saying this to scare me." Soraya's face hardened. She leaned close and whispered directly into his ear. "They are coming tonight." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Who?" "The hunters," she said. "They will come for me, and now, for you." Daniel looked at the window again. His heart pounded. He thought he saw a shadow move across the sky. Maybe a ship. Maybe his imagination. Soraya placed her hand on his arm. Her skin was warm, real, alive. Not metal. Not machine. "You can still run," she said. "If you leave me now, they might let you live. But if you stay..." Her words trailed off, leaving only silence. Daniel stared at her, his thoughts racing. He had bought her because of a strange offer, a careless choice. Now his life was tied to something much larger, something terrifying. Before he could answer, a low sound rumbled through the walls, a hum, a vibration deep and alien. The lights flickered. Soraya's eyes went wide. "They are here." Daniel's heart hammered in his chest. He realized too late this was no deal, no simple purchase. This was the start of something far darker, and there was no way back. The humming sound grew louder. The glass of Daniel's window shook. The lights of the city outside dimmed as if something enormous passed above. Daniel's heart raced. He turned toward Soraya, but she was already moving. "Get away from the window," she ordered, her voice sharp. Daniel froze. "What are they, ships?" Her eyes were cold. "Hunters. They followed me here. They will not knock. They will take." Before Daniel could react, the apartment door shuddered with a heavy thud like a giant fist pounding metal. Daniel jumped back. Another slam came harder, bending the doorframe. Soraya grabbed his arm. "If you want to live, come with me." She pulled him toward the back hallway. Daniel stumbled after her. His mind spun. He had never believed in aliens, not like this. Now they were smashing down his door. The third strike tore the door open. Shadows rushed inside. Tall, armored figures with glowing visors stepped into the room. They moved like hunters, silent and deadly. Daniel's breath caught. "What are they?" Soraya did not answer. She pushed him into the stairwell. "Run!" They raced down narrow steps. Above them, metal footsteps thundered as the hunters followed. The sound was heavy, relentless, like predators chasing prey. Daniel's chest burned. He had never run so hard in his life. "Where are we going?" He gasped. "Out of sight," Soraya said. "They will track me by signal. We must break it." They burst through a side door into an alley. The night air was damp and cold. Neon signs flickered overhead. But Daniel had no time to look. Behind them, the stairwell door exploded off its hinges. The hunters were close. Soraya grabbed his hand and pulled him into the darkness. She moved with a speed that shocked him. Her steps were silent, her body flowing like water. Daniel struggled to keep up. "They're faster than us," Daniel cried. "They are not faster than me," Soraya said, her voice firm. She spun suddenly, raising her hand. A faint glow spread from her palm. For one heartbeat, Daniel thought she had pulled out a weapon, but it was not a gun. It was her. Light burst from her hand and struck the alley wall. The brick cracked open, forming a hole just big enough for them to slip through. Daniel gaped. What was that?" "No time," Soraya said, pushing him inside. "Move." They crawled through the gap into an old tunnel. Dust filled Daniel's nose. Cobwebs brushed his face. The tunnel stretched into darkness. Behind them, the hunters shouted in a language he could not understand. Their metallic voices echoed, filled with anger. Soraya pressed her glowing palm against the broken wall. Stone shifted, sealing the gap shut. The sound of cracking rock drowned out the hunters' voices. Daniel bent over, gasping for breath. "What are you?" "That wasn't human." Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "I told you. I was made by them. But I broke free, and now I run. Always run." Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to stop, to rest, but Soraya pulled him forward. "No," she said. "We are not safe yet." The tunnel twisted downward, deeper into the earth. Daniel's footsteps echoed. His heart still pounded like a drum. "Where does this go?" "Underground rail," she said. "If we reach it, we can disappear." Daniel tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "Disappear? From aliens? You make it sound easy." Soraya's lips pressed into a thin line. "It is never easy. But humans have something the hunters do not." "And what's that?" Daniel asked. She looked at him, her eyes sharp even in the dark. "Choice." The word echoed in his head. Choice. He had chosen to buy her. He had chosen not to walk away. And now here he was, running for his life beside someone who wasn't even human. They reached the end of the tunnel. A broken ladder led upward. Faint light spilled down through the cracks above. Soraya climbed first, fast and sure. Daniel followed, hands shaking as the metal rungs creaked under his weight. They emerged into an abandoned train station. Dust covered the floor. Broken signs hung from the ceiling. Once it must have been alive with people. Now it was only shadows. Soraya moved to the center of the platform. She closed her eyes. Her hand touched the ground. The faint glow returned, brighter this time. Strange lines spread out like veins across the floor. Daniel stepped back. "What are you doing?" "Breaking the signal," she whispered. The glow pulsed, then faded. Soraya opened her eyes. "For now, they cannot track me, but they will not stop." Daniel stared at her, chest heaving. "Why me? Why drag me into this?" "You could have run alone." Soraya's eyes softened. For the first time, she looked less like a warrior and more like someone carrying a heavy burden. Because I felt something in you. Something no alien has. When you looked at me, I saw hope. Daniel opened his mouth to answer, but before he could speak, a sound echoed from the tunnels. A metallic shriek. The hunters were close again. Soraya stood tall. Her voice turned cold. Then we fight. Daniel's blood froze. Fight? With what? I don't even have a weapon. Soraya reached out and pressed his hand between her own. A warmth spread through him, strange and powerful. He felt energy pulse inside his chest, as if his heart was no longer only his. Her eyes glowed brighter. You are the weapon, she said. Daniel gasped, but there was no time to question. The shadows moved at the tunnel's edge. The hunters were coming, and the real escape had only just begun. The hunters' footsteps echoed through the dark tunnels, steady and cold. Their glowing visors cut through the dust. Daniel's hands shook, but Soraya stood tall. Her eyes burned like fire. Stay close to me, she whispered. Daniel swallowed hard. You said I'm the weapon. What does that even mean? Soraya's grip tightened on his wrist. You will understand soon. But first, we survive. The first hunter stepped into the station. Its armor gleamed, heavy and alien. It raised a long weapon, humming with deadly light. Daniel froze, his chest tight. Soraya moved before the hunter could fire. She pulled Daniel close and pressed his hand against her chest. At once, Daniel felt a surge of warmth, like electricity flowing through his veins. The air around them shimmered. A shield of glowing light formed, wrapping them in a protective shell. The hunter's shot blasted forward, striking the shield with a thunderous crack. Sparks flew, but the shield held. Daniel gasped. What did I just do? Soraya's voice was calm, but her eyes were fierce. Not you, us, together. The hunters closed in, circling. Soraya pulled Daniel toward the far tunnel. Move! They ran again, the echo of alien weapons chasing them. The shield flickered each time Daniel's heart raced, pulsing brighter when he focused on Soraya's grip. He did not understand it, but it was the only thing keeping them alive. Finally, they slipped into another tunnel, darker and narrower. The hunters' voices faded behind them. Soraya stopped and pressed Daniel against the wall. She leaned close, her breath heavy. We cannot keep running forever, she said. You deserve to know the truth. Daniel's chest still heaved. The truth? You mean about what you are? She nodded. For a long moment she stayed silent. Then, with a voice that trembled between strength and sorrow, she said, I am not human, but I am not machine either. I am something in between. I was made by them, the masters who rule across the stars. They called me Amazon Queen. Daniel blinked. Amazon Queen? Her eyes glowed faintly in the shadows. Yes, they created me to lead an army of my kind. To fight, to obey, to conquer. I was meant to be perfect. Stronger than a soldier, yet beautiful enough to break hearts. A weapon that could also control minds. Daniel stared at her, the words heavy in his head. And yet, you ran away. A bitter smile crossed her lips. Yes, because even perfection has a flaw. The masters made me powerful, but they gave me something they did not expect. A mind of my own. A heart that could feel. And when I saw the pain they caused, I refused to serve. Daniel felt a strange chill. So they hunt you. Because you rebelled? Her voice hardened. Because I am dangerous. To them I am a broken tool. To me I am free. Silence hung in the tunnel. Daniel tried to make sense of it. He looked at her, at the way her eyes glowed, at the way her hand still held his. Then why sell you? Why would that dealer put you in a market? Her face darkened. Because he was greedy. He thought he could make profit from me. He does not understand what I truly am. But the hunters do. That is why they will never stop chasing me. Daniel's stomach tightened. And me? Why am I part of this? Soraya looked at him for a long moment as if searching his soul. Because when you touched me, my power grew. The masters never predicted this. They never imagined a human could connect to me. But you can. You make me stronger. Daniel shook his head. That doesn't make sense. I'm nobody, her voice softened. To them maybe, but to me, you are different. Humans have something they cannot copy. I felt it the moment you looked at me in the market. What is it? Daniel asked quietly. She leaned closer, her eyes fierce. Choice, you choose to help. You choose to care. That is why they fear you, even if they don't know it yet. Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to deny it, but deep down, he knew something had changed inside him. He had bought Soraya by chance, but now his choices mattered more than ever. A distant rumble shook the tunnel. Dust rained from the ceiling. Soraya's head snapped up. They are tunneling. We must move, Daniel groaned. Again? She gave a faint smile. Escape is survival. Survival is war. They ran again, deeper underground. This time Daniel felt something different. He no longer ran just from fear. He ran because he wanted to stay with her, to protect her. Finally, they reached a cavern. In the center stood a broken structure, old and forgotten. Strange markings glowed faintly on the walls. Soraya's eyes widened. This place, it is from my people, she whispered. Before the masters took us, Daniel frowned. Your people? She nodded. The Amazons, warriors free and proud. The masters captured us, twisted us, remade us. But once we were human. Like you, Daniel's eyes widened. You mean you were human? Not exactly, Soraya said softly, but close. We were born on a distant world, seeded from Earth long ago. Humans and Amazons share the same root. That is why you can connect to me. That is why we are linked. Daniel felt his heart pound. It was too much, too fast, but it also felt true. Before he could answer, the cavern trembled again. A loud crack split the stone. The hunters were breaking through. Soraya grabbed Daniel's hand. Her eyes blazed with fire. Then we fight not just for escape, but for truth. If we fall, the masters win. If we survive, maybe humans will rise. Daniel tightened his grip. For the first time, he did not feel powerless. He felt chosen. The walls cracked open. Shadows spilled inside. The hunters had found them. And the secrets of the Amazon Queen were only the beginning. The cavern shook as the hunters broke through the stone walls. Dust filled the air, choking Daniel's lungs. The glowing visors of the hunters cut through the darkness like sharp knives. They stepped forward, their weapons humming with deadly light. Daniel's body screamed to run. His legs trembled, his heart hammered. But Soraya stood tall, her glowing eyes fixed on the enemy. She looked like a queen facing her throne of war. Stay with me, she whispered. Daniel whispered back, I can't fight them. I'm just a man. Her hand found his, warm and firm. Not just a man, a human. That is enough. The first hunter raised its weapon. A beam of blue light shot forward, splitting the air. Daniel flinched, but Soraya pulled him close, pressing his palm against her chest again. The shield burst alive. A dome of shimmering light wrapped around them. The beam struck, exploded, and vanished into sparks. The cavern walls cracked from the blast, but Daniel and Soraya stood untouched. Daniel gasped. I did that? Soraya's voice was steady. No, we did that together. The hunters spread out, trying to flank them. Their movements were precise, cold, without fear. Daniel's knees shook, but Soraya squeezed his hand tighter. Close your eyes, she said softly. What? Do it, trust me. Daniel closed his eyes. He felt her heartbeat through his hand. He felt warmth spread into him, a pulse of energy that was not his, yet somehow part of him. His fear melted, replaced by focus. Now, Soraya whispered, imagine strength. Imagine fire. Give it to me, Daniel obeyed. In his mind, he pictured flames roaring against the hunters. At once, Soraya's body lit with blazing energy. She raised her arm and fire shot from her palm, striking two hunters and throwing them back into the stone wall. Daniel's eyes snapped open. I imagined that you made it real, Soraya said. The hunters roared in their strange metallic voices. They fired again. Daniel ducked instinctively, but the shield pulsed with each blast, shimmering brighter the harder he focused. His fear was no longer choking him. It was fueling something new. Soraya moved like a storm. She fought with her body and his mind. When Daniel pictured a barrier, a wall of light appeared before them. When he pictured speed, Soraya blurred forward, striking hunters with impossible force. But the hunters were many. Too many. For every one that fell, another stepped out of the shadows. Daniel's chest burned. His vision blurred. I can't hold this forever. Soraya glanced back at him, her eyes fierce yet full of something he had never seen before. Trust. Yes, you can. Because humans hold on even when the world says they cannot. Her words hit him like lightning. His arm steadied. His fear turned into resolve. He shouted, and the shield flared brighter, blasting the hunters back. For the first time, Daniel did not feel like prey. He felt like a fighter. Still, the cavern was collapsing. Stones rained down. The ground cracked under their feet. Soraya pulled him toward the far exit. We can't win here. We must live to fight another day. They ran again, stumbling through dust and falling rock. The hunters chased, firing wildly. Daniel focused on shielding them from behind. Each blast struck his shimmering dome, but none broke through. Finally, they burst out of the cavern into open night. Cold air hit Daniel's face. The stars stretched above, but they felt less peaceful now, like the eyes of gods watching. Soraya stopped at the cliff's edge. The ground dropped far below into a river of black water. The hunters spilled out behind them, blocking the path back. Daniel's breath caught. "We're trapped." Soraya looked at the rushing river below, then back at him. "No, we have a choice," Daniel shook his head. "You don't mean—" "Yes," she said firmly. "Trust me." Before he could argue, she wrapped her arms around him and leapt. Daniel screamed as the wind tore past him. The river rushed closer, roaring like thunder. Then they hit the water. Darkness swallowed everything. The cold stabbed Daniel's skin like knives. He struggled, choking, but Soraya's grip held him tight. She pulled him through the water with powerful strokes. He could barely keep his eyes open, but he felt her energy keeping him alive, keeping him moving. At last, they surfaced far downstream. Daniel coughed, gasping for air. They floated to the bank, dragging themselves onto wet rocks. Both of them lay there, shivering and weak, staring up at the stars. Daniel groaned. "That was insane." Soraya's laugh was soft, almost human. "And yet we live." Daniel turned his head to look at her. The glow in her eyes had faded, but her face looked calmer, almost peaceful. "You saved me," he whispered. Her lips curved into a faint smile. "No, we saved each other." Silence settled between them. Only the sound of the rushing river filled the night. Daniel's body ached, but inside something new had awakened, a bond he couldn't explain. Soraya closed her eyes. "Do you feel it now?" Daniel frowned. "Feel what?" She placed her hand over his chest. "The connection. The spark. It is not power from me or from you alone. It is something born when human and Amazon stand together." Daniel stared at her hand, then at her face. He did feel it, something warm, something alive, and in that moment he realized this was more than escape. This was destiny, but destiny was dangerous. Because above them, hidden in the stars, the hunters' masters were still watching. And they would never allow this connection to survive. The river carried them far from the hunters, but not far from danger. Daniel and Soraya climbed the muddy bank, their bodies cold and weak. The forest stretched around them, tall trees whispering under the night wind. For the first time since the chase began, there was silence. No glowing visors, no heavy footsteps, only the sound of water fading behind them. Daniel leaned against a tree, shivering. "We can't keep running forever." Soraya's eyes scanned the shadows. "No, but we can hide, for now." They walked deeper into the forest until they found an old cabin. Its wooden walls sagged with age, its windows broken. Inside, dust covered the floor, but it was shelter. Daniel lit a small lantern from the broken supplies. The warm glow filled the room. For a moment, Daniel almost felt safe. Soraya sat near the firelight, her long hair damp and tangled, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. She looked less like a weapon and more like a weary traveler. Daniel whispered, "So, what now? Do we just keep running until they stop?" Her voice was low, heavy. "They will never stop. Not until I am destroyed." Daniel's chest tightened. "Then we fight them." Soraya looked at him sharply. "You speak with courage, but courage without truth is foolish." "You don't understand what I am, Daniel." Before he could answer, the door creaked. Daniel spun, heart racing. But it was only a man, an older villager with a lantern in his hand. His clothes were worn, his eyes tired. "You two shouldn't be here," the man said. "The hunters have been seen near the valley." "It's not safe." Daniel exhaled with relief. "You've seen them too." "Then you know what they are?" The villager nodded slowly. "I know enough, and I know a place where you'll be safe, at least for tonight." Soraya studied him, her eyes narrowing. Daniel felt her tense beside him. "You don't trust him?" he whispered. Her reply was sharp. "Trust is a luxury we cannot afford." But Daniel was exhausted, desperate for rest. "Please, just for one night." After a long pause, Soraya nodded once. "Very well. But if this is a trap, we will know." The villager led them through winding paths until they reached a stone building half buried in the earth. Inside it was warm, filled with supplies, and strangely secure. Daniel almost smiled. For the first time, they had walls stronger than wood between them and the hunters. But Soraya remained stiff, her eyes scanning every corner. Night passed slowly. Daniel fell into a deep sleep. When he woke, it was to the sound of metal. Chains. He jerked upright, panic rushing through him. His arms were bound to a chair, cold steel biting into his wrists. Soraya stood across the room, shackled in glowing restraints that dimmed the light in her eyes. Daniel's breath caught. What happened? The villager stepped out of the shadows, but his face was colder now, his lantern gone. Behind him walked a man Daniel recognized, the dealer from the market. "Welcome back, buyer," the dealer said smoothly. "You did not think you could keep my prize forever, did you?" Daniel struggled against the chains. "You sold her. She wasn't yours." The dealer chuckled. "She was never yours either. She belongs to them." He gestured. And from the shadows came more figures. Not hunters in armor, but strange robed aliens with silver eyes. They carried no weapons, yet the air bent around them as if reality itself obeyed their will. Soraya's voice cut through the silence, sharp with fury. "Masters," Daniel froze. These were the ones she had spoken of. The true rulers. One of the robed aliens stepped forward, its voice echoing in Daniel's mind rather than in his ears. "You cannot run from your design, Queen. You were made to serve us." Soraya's chains glowed brighter as she struggled. "I am not your slave." The alien's voice was calm, almost gentle. "You are broken. That is why you must be destroyed. But first, the human." Its silver eyes turned to Daniel. He felt a cold pressure in his skull, as if invisible fingers were digging into his thoughts. "You are nothing," the alien said, though its lips never moved. "A weak creature from a forgotten world. And yet, you touched her. You unlocked what should never be. Why?" Daniel's body shook under the pressure. He wanted to scream, to fight, but the alien's will pressed harder. Soraya's voice broke through the haze. "Because he is human," she shouted. "Because they carry something you will never understand." The alien's gaze darkened. "We will see." It turned to the dealer. "Dispose of him. The experiment is over." Daniel's stomach dropped. The dealer smiled and drew a blade from his coat, its edge humming with cruel energy. He stepped closer, his eyes cold. Soraya screamed, pulling against her restraints. The light in her eyes flickered weakly, but she could not break free. Daniel's chest pounded. This was the end. Betrayed, chained, helpless, but then something sparked. A warmth deep inside him, faint but growing. He looked at Soraya. She was still fighting, still defying them, even in chains. Her eyes met his, fierce and desperate, and in that moment Daniel felt it again. The connection. The bond, the human spark she had spoken of. His chains groaned. The metal heated under his skin, glowing faintly. The dealer's smile faded. Daniel gritted his teeth, his voice breaking through the fear. "You should have never brought me here." The chains snapped. The room erupted in chaos. The broken chains fell to the floor with a heavy clang. Sparks danced around Daniel's wrists, glowing like fire. The dealer froze, his blade trembling in his hand. The silver-eyed masters stepped back, their calm expressions cracking for the first time. Soraya stared at Daniel, her eyes wide. "You broke the restraints. Without me." Daniel's breath came heavy, but his voice was steady. "No, I broke them because of you." The room shook as the masters raised their hands. Energy rippled like waves, bending the air. But before they could strike, the far wall split open with a violent crash. From the smoke stepped a figure, tall, armored, and shining with cruel beauty. Daniel's stomach dropped. It was another Amazon queen. Her hair shimmered like steel. Her eyes glowed a harsh crimson. Her face was Soraya's mirror, but colder, harder, empty of mercy. The dealer's smile returned. "Ah, my second masterpiece. Unlike the broken one, this one is loyal. This one will kill." The crimson-eyed queen turned her gaze to Soraya. "Sister," she said, her voice sharp as glass. Soraya's chains rattled as she fought to stand taller. "You are no sister of mine. You are their puppet." The second queen stepped forward, the ground cracking beneath her feet. "And you are a traitor. I was made to destroy you." Daniel's pulse thundered. He looked at Soraya, still bound, her glow fading. He looked at the crimson queen, stronger, faster, already raising her hands for attack. For one heartbeat, Daniel wanted to run. But then he remembered the fire in Soraya's eyes, the way she had trusted him when no one else did. He stepped between them. "If you want her, you'll go through me." The crimson queen tilted her head, curious. "A human? Standing against me?" Her laugh was cold. "Then you will die first," she struck. A blast of red energy shot forward. Daniel threw up his hands instinctively, and the shield exploded into life. Light blazed brighter than before, fueled not by fear but by defiance. The blast shattered against it, the room filled with smoke. When it cleared, Daniel still stood, his shield burning like a second sun. The Crimson Queen's smile faded. Impossible, Soraya's voice rang out, proud and strong even in chains. Not impossible, human. The battle began. The Crimson Queen attacked with brutal speed, her strikes shaking the floor. Daniel blocked each one, his shield flaring with every impact. But the blows grew harder, faster. His arms ached, his chest burned. Soraya shouted, "You cannot win by shielding alone. Let me in." Daniel stumbled back toward her. He pressed his palm to her shackles. At once, warmth surged through him, flowing into her. The restraints cracked, then shattered. Soraya rose free at last. Her glow returned, brighter than ever. She stood beside Daniel, her eyes blazing like twin stars. "Now," she said, her voice a command. Together, they moved as one. Daniel's thoughts shaped the shield, and Soraya's strength turned it into a weapon. Light and fire struck the Crimson Queen, forcing her back. The walls shook, the dealer shouted in panic, and even the master stepped away from the storm they had created. But the Crimson Queen was powerful. She leapt high, crashing down with a blast that split the floor in two. The building trembled, stones falling around them. Daniel almost fell, but Soraya caught his arm. "Do not break," she whispered. "If you fall, I fall." Her words lit something deep inside him. He steadied his breath. Together they pushed back. For a moment it seemed they were winning. The Crimson Queen staggered, her armor cracked, her glow flickered. But then, above the chaos, the ceiling tore apart. A deep rumble filled the air. Daniel looked up. His blood ran cold. Alien ships descended from the sky, their massive hulls blotting out the stars. Hundreds of hunters poured down on beams of light, their weapons ready. The master's silver eyes gleamed. "You see, Queen," they spoke into Soraya's mind. "You cannot run. You cannot win. You were never free." Soraya's jaw tightened. She looked at Daniel, then back at the sky. "They are bringing war to Earth," Daniel's fists clenched. The shield shimmered around him, weak but unbroken. "Then we fight, here, now." The Crimson Queen laughed, her voice echoing in the ruins. "Yes, sister. War has begun." The ground shook as alien ships landed. The air filled with fire and light. The forest outside burned, and the night sky became a battlefield. Daniel and Soraya stood together side by side against the storm. The war had ignited. And Earth would never be the same again. The night sky was on fire. Alien ships blotted out the stars, their beams raining hunters onto the Earth. The forest burned, trees falling under the weight of machines. The ground shook with every strike. Daniel stood at Soraya's side, his shield flickering but unbroken. Soraya's eyes glowed brighter than ever, her hair whipping in the hot wind. The Crimson Queen faced them still, her armor cracked but her will unshaken. And behind her, the silver-eyed masters watched with cold silence, certain of their victory. "Too many," Daniel whispered, his throat dry. "We can't fight them all." Soraya's voice was steady. "We don't have to fight alone." Daniel turned to her. "What do you mean?" Her eyes burned like suns. "The Amazons are not gone. My sisters sleep, hidden across this world. Scattered, broken, waiting. Only a human spark can wake them." Daniel's chest tightened. "You mean me?" Soraya nodded. "Yes, you are the key. You are the connection." The ground split as hunters marched closer. Their weapons glowed, their steps heavy. The Crimson Queen raised her hand, preparing to strike. Daniel shook his head. "How do I wake them?" Soraya reached for his hand, pressing it over her heart. Her voice was urgent, sharp. "Do not think of fear. Do not think of death. Think of hope. Think of freedom. Let it burn inside you. Then give it to me." Daniel closed his eyes. The roar of ships, the screams of fire, the hiss of alien weapons all faded. He thought of his world, fragile but alive. He thought of Soraya, proud and defiant. He thought of humans, ordinary, flawed, but always choosing to rise again. Warmth spread from his chest into hers. A surge of energy pulsed through the ground like a shockwave. The cavern walls cracked. The forest floor glowed. Soraya lifted her head, her voice ringing out like thunder. "Awaken, sisters. Rise from the shadows. Your time has come." The earth answered. From the burning forest, glowing figures emerged, women tall and fierce, their eyes blazing with the same fire as Soraya. From rivers, from caves, from hidden places they had slept for centuries, the Amazons rose. Dozens. Hundreds. Their chains of silence broken at last. Daniel gasped. You weren't alone. Soraya's lips curved into a fierce smile. Never alone. The hunters hesitated. For the first time, their perfect ranks faltered. The silver-eyed masters tilted their heads, confusion breaking their calm. The Crimson Queen hissed, her voice sharp. This changes nothing. They still belong to the masters. Soraya stepped forward, her sisters behind her. No, they belong to no one. The Amazons raised their hands, and with Daniel's spark still burning through Soraya, their power blazed like a storm. Fire, light, and raw energy erupted, tearing through the first wave of hunters. Machines burned. Armor cracked. Alien screams filled the air. Daniel's shield grew stronger, larger, stretching to cover not just him but the warriors around him. He felt their strength mixing with his like voices joining in a song. The battlefield roared alive. Hunters clashed with Amazons, but the balance had shifted. For every weapon the aliens brought, human defiance and Amazon fury struck back harder. Ships shook under blasts of energy. Beams of fire cut through the night sky. The Crimson Queen charged at Soraya, blades of red light in her hands. Their clash shook the ground. Sparks flew as sister fought sister, mirror against mirror. Daniel tried to shield Soraya, but she shouted over the battle, "No! This is mine!" Their duel was fierce. The Crimson Queen's strikes were fast, merciless. But Soraya fought not only with strength but with purpose. With every blow, she shouted the truth the masters feared. I am not your weapon. Strike. I am not your slave. Strike. I am free. Final strike. Her blade of light pierced the Crimson Queen's chest. The glow in her sister's eyes faded, replaced by something almost human, a single tear. Then she collapsed into dust, her body broken free from control at last. The silver-eyed masters watched in silence. Their calm cracked into rage. Their voices thundered in Daniel's skull. You cannot win. Humanity is weak. This world will burn. Daniel stepped forward, his shield blazing like a star. You don't understand humans at all. We break, we bleed, but we never stop. That's what makes us strong. Soraya stood beside him, her sisters gathering in a circle. Their combined power rose into the sky, a storm of light. Daniel's spark fed them stronger than ever. The masters raised their hands, but their power faltered against the wave of human-Amazon connection. The storm burst upward, striking the alien ships above. Hulls cracked. Engines failed. One by one, the mighty vessels fell from the sky in burning fire. The hunters fled. The masters' silver eyes dimmed. Their voices faded into silence. The battlefield was quiet again, except for the crackle of burning trees and the heavy breath of survivors. Daniel dropped to his knees, exhausted. His shield flickered out. Soraya knelt beside him, placing her hand on his shoulder. You see now, she whispered, why they fear you, why humans matter. Daniel looked up at her, his voice weak but steady. Because we choose, Soraya smiled, proud and fierce. She stood tall, her sisters around her. Together they faced the broken sky. This world is not theirs, she declared. It belongs to those who fight for it, humans and Amazons together. The night was scarred, the earth burned, but a new dawn was rising. Humanity was no longer prey, they had risen, and the galaxy would never forget it.